to order for October 7th, 2014.
Okay, and I call the school committee meeting to order for October 7th, 2014 as well.
And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, before we start our joint meeting, I want to take note that Marcia Curran passed away on Sunday. She was recently our Director of Council on Aging, and she had been an employee for some 11 years. And I think we can all appreciate her dedication in helping the seniors in town. And we wish our sincere condolences to her family and friends.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
I can add something to that. Her viewing will be at the Acton Funeral Home next Monday.
Yep, and in lieu of flowers, the family's suggesting donations to either the Buddy Dog Shelter or the Council on Aging gift fund.
That's true.
Yeah, that's sorry about that.
Thanks a lot. Use the advertising, you know.
I also note that Carol Miliato passed away in last week as well, on the 26th, I believe. And her services and wakes have been complete, and I appreciate that Becky and others were able to make it there. And Carol had just recently joined the Council on Aging.
Rejoined.
Rejoined, indeed. So tonight we start off with a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and School Committee to appoint a interim replacement for the school committee vacancy. This replacement will serve until the next town election in May, at which point whomever gets elected then will take the seat. And we have one applicant, and if she would come up, please. Introduce yourself for
Thank
the
you.
records.
Dawn Capello, 5 3rd Street in Maynard. I have lived in Maynard probably about 11 years now, and I appreciate the boards getting together, especially the school committee on an off night. I can start, or if you...
Well, let's see. I mean, we have your letter. We're pretty familiar with your work and your interest and dedication. I myself don't have any real questions, but we'll let the other members see if they have questions. Or,
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, it is obviously a little pro formal to do it, but I was just curious. In the news a lot are the Common Core, and I just wondered, do you have any opinions or feelings towards it?
I'd probably pretty much just be honestly coming aboard as a really new member, really open-minded at this point. I have a kindergartner, so I really don't have any preformed thoughts about our school system, how it interacts with the state and the requirements there. I mean, I certainly have personal feelings about things like MCAS scores, but, really I'd be representing the community. So I'm just kind of come in and learn and try to get up to speed as fast as possible. I'm very familiar with your goals, the budgeting, the town process. But as far as Common Core, I really need to just be honest. I have to really study up on that, and just going to say that. So.
Okay.
Any other questions from the school committee?
Is there anything you'd like to, I mean, we all know you've been working really hard on behalf of Maynard for a number of years.
Sure.
In a variety of different capacities. But would you like to say a couple of words about why the school committee?
Sure. As I mentioned before, I have a kindergartner, so I'm obviously very curious about the school system and their goals, immediate and long term. My familiarity with the town budget and getting more familiar with the school budget with the new superintendent, who's been a lot more open and transparent. I have a lot of concerns about how we're going to continue to deliver quality education with dwindling funds and resources. So similar to my other roles in town, I'll have my eye on the money ball, really, just to make sure we can continue to provide services. I think that how you treat your young and how you treat your old really says everything about your community. So I'm happy to put my time and energy towards that. There's an interim opening. I was contacted by a number of parents in the community who said, what are you doing with your time? There's an opening on school committee. Why don't you throw your name in? So, had there honestly been more candidates, I probably would have waited and, possibly ran in May. But you've got an opening. I've got some dedication, time, and a fair amount of knowledge to bring to it. So I'm happy to just sort of do my part as I've done in the past.
Okay. Any comments? Questions? No? Anything from the board?
No.
All right, well, then, I'll make a motion that we appoint Don Capello to the school committee for an interim term expiring on May 5, 2015.
A second?
Very good, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, I'll move the vote. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. That's, wow, I got to count a lot. That's 7-0. All right, thank you very much.
Do we need to sign that now?
Yes, you guys need to sign this, and then she needs to get sworn, and then she's all yours.
All right.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Thank you.
And then I have to adjourn our meeting.
In the morning, okay, great. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Don.
Let that go around.
May I borrow your pen? Mine is orange. I guess that'd be appropriate in Maynard.
Oh, yeah, nice.
As long as somebody else is signed in black.
Got you covered.
That's right.
And with Jamal's signature, I'll entertain a motion for the school committee to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen, for
Good,
your time.
yes, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Hand this to Becky.
Please.
I would remember when the car.
Yeah, what card did it start?
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks. We'll just wait a minute before our staff can reclaim their seats. They're very generous to give them up.
Yes, they were. Oops, let me grab my switch. Kevin, how are you? I'm good. It's nice to see you.
Hey, Kevin.
Hi, thank you very much. Have a good meeting.
Good night.
Take care.
Have a good night.
5-minute meeting, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's.
Something to shoot for, Bill.
Okay.
Set the bar.
All right, so continuing on with the Board of Selectmen meeting for October 7th. First item on our agenda is public comments. Do we have anybody to comment? Yes, Mr. Tom. Sorry.
I understand from the downtown merchants that the Maynard Fest was very well attended. They had a nice crowd. Everybody seemed to do a pretty good amount of business. The only negative comment I heard made was, as usual, not enough parking. Other than that, I guess, everybody was quite happy with the amount of people that showed up. It was a wonderful weekend, and they didn't make that comment about the parking too loud, because I still say that the parking downtown is not properly utilized. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll note for Kevin that there were 2 people with plug-in cars who were very happy for those last-minute parking spots.
Excellent. That's good. I've seen one regularly
Yes.
posted, so it's good.
Okay, now we have minutes, and the first up is the minutes of August 19, 2014, and I'm gonna confess that I didn't actually have time to look at it, but if Jason says he's all happy with it, I'm pretty good with that.
Yeah, I did go back through the last 3 sets to get them ready for tonight.
Then I will make a motion to approve the minutes of August 19th, 2014 as submitted.
Second?
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 3-0. Now we have the minutes of September 2nd. Just back to Jason, all good with that?
I was all set with it. I
move-
think there were only, just to go back, the only thing that I believe that was there was that you had provided some comments, Bill, that had not been incorporated.
Yep, okay.
That those were incorporated, plus I think we made a few other minor edits. So, I'm all set with them.
Very good.
And I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 2nd.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second on the approval of minutes of September 2nd. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 3-0. And then the minutes of September 16, 2014.
Based on Jason's comments, I will make a motion to approve the minutes of September 16th.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 3-0. All right. Next agenda item is correspondence, and I'll make a motion that we accept the correspondence items A through W as listed on the agenda for the meeting of October 7, 2014.
I would like to pull one document, that being the letter from the ABCC, I believe it was from the ABCC, regarding, it's actually from the State Lottery Commission, I'm sorry, that's letter E.
You want
I want to pull it for discussion.
to,
So if you amend your motion to A through D and F through
okay.
W.
All right, my motion is to accept correspondence items A through W excluding E as noted on the agenda for October 7th, 2014.
I'll second that.
So we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, so we've accepted most of the correspondence, and so David, I'll let you.
Yeah, the correspondence E was the notice from the Mass State Lottery Commission, and those, I'm fairly consistent with this. It's a request for a Keno to Go game at Main Street Liquor, and it's just my firm belief that Keno is not a game for a, lack of a better term, a transient locale. I believe it's something that's fine, you know, I might have issues, but it's fine by me if it's in a bar room or someplace where people are congregating for a time. I think it opens itself up to people standing around and loitering unnecessarily, waiting for the numbers to come up. And so as a result, I would like to put in a letter to the Mass State Lottery Commission, as we have done in the past, asking for that not to be approved by the Lottery Commission.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, the deadline to do that has passed.
I think it was a certain number of days from the date of receipt of the letter, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but I have a feeling, I'm trying to find it, but I have a feeling
on.
our receipt of the letter,
It was,
And-
I thought it was
and our-
September,
our gap in our meeting schedule, the letter is marked as received on September 15. And for some reason, they only give us 21 days. Is that enough? Well, maybe we made it.
received September 15th. 21 days after September 15th. I think it's expired.
Pretty close.
15 days would be the 30th.
I think you're at 22.
So I think it's expired, and that's too bad. It's a consistent concern of mine. I don't think it's proper to have Keno in a place that's a come and go type locale. We have them in gas stations. I don't think that's appropriate. We have them in various other places, which I don't think is appropriate, because it just invites people to loiter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so noted. And we'll have to talk about doing something about notice on some of these things and whether the board should learn about it before it goes into the packet or not, but anyways. So that being the case, I guess, technicality, we just have to accept the correspondence. So I'll make a motion that we accept the correspondence item E from the agenda list on October 7th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, so that item is accepted. Now, we have a consent agenda. I have a procedural question to Kevin, maybe. The agenda lists reappointments for Collins, Lukashuk, and Shea, but we also have something for Hull in our desk papers here.
Yes,
We do.
I forgot, I missed putting that in the consent.
So, if we have to act on all four, I'm just gonna suggest that we take that out of a consent agenda just to do it formally, since it's Board of Registrars
Right.
and election stuff. I don't really wanna mess that one up.
That's fair. That's,
So that leaves us, consent agenda, item B. And, I'll make a motion that we approve, the consent agenda, item B, which is the common victualer's license for, the roasted peppers business.
Just a comment before I second, because we have already approved the transfer of the liquor license, there's no need for, just for a hearing or anything like that, for a transfer of ownership.
that's correct.
So I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the, abbreviated consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor? Very good. Motion passes, and common victular license number 37 is approved, and it's all ready to go. Now, regard to the reappointment of the Board of Registrars, just to clarify, these are all current sitting members,
Yes.
correct? And we have Charles Shea for a term through December 31st, 2017, Madeline Lukashuk for a term through December 31st, 2015, Deborah Collins, December 31st, 2017, and C. David Hull, December 31st, 2016. So I will make a motion to reappoint to the Board of Registrars Madeline Lukashuk for a term expiring the end of calendar year 2015, C. David Hull for a term expiring the end of calendar year 2016, Deborah Collins for a term expiring the end of calendar year 2017, and Charles Shea for a term expiring the end of calendar year 2017. Do we have a second?
Once again, comment before I second it. I have no problems with these either, but just a question on I guess, the fact that Mr. Hull's name wasn't listed and the others were. Are there any concerns with that, given that if any are going to be listed, should all, because if there's a resident who does not know that a certain individual is being appointed that may want to come in and complain, not that I would think anybody would about Mr. Hull, but is that a problem that we have to be concerned with?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's as a
Then-
reappointment.
Okay, then I will second.
Okay. Any further discussion from the board? All right, and that's an interesting point about the audience. Do we have any comments from the audience? Mr. Tom?
Mr. Chairman, I would hope that somewhere along the way, that the town recognized Madeline Lukashuk for her long service on the Board of Registrars for the town. It must be 30 years or more. And she's getting to be quite a senior citizen, so I think she deserves some recognition from the board.
Might be someone to keep in mind.
She's put in the time, and she hasn't been getting paid.
Might be someone to keep in mind for our annual recognition award for volunteers at the annual town meeting.
And it may be more than 30 years, because I think she was in the
Whatever,
Kennedy
but I
era.
think My personal opinion is, I think she should be recognized.
No, I
One way or
appreciate that.
another, how you do it is
Yeah.
prerogative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, there being no further discussion, all in favor? Motion passes 3-0. All right, these are good. Next item on the agenda is an appointment interview. Christopher Worthy for a vacancy on the Board of Assessors. Please come on down. State your name for the record.
Chris Worthy.
Thank you, and we saw you fairly recently
Yes, for the
in another interview.
A planning board, right?
planning board,
Planning
correct.
board. Appreciate you coming down for this, and we have your letter of interest, but if you want to expand upon that, please do.
Just is not much more, but I've been living in Maynard for a year and a half now. Been looking for ways to get involved with the town. I'm an attorney in Acton, a small law firm, Wilson and Orcutt. And at the moment, most of my work is in commercial real estate, some residential real estate, but there's a major part of it, obviously, is taxes. So this is one aspect of the boards or committees here that I feel like I am somewhat familiar with. Real estate, property, motor vehicle tax.
Good. And do I understand that you had a short stint with the Department of Revenue?
I did, yeah. While I was in law school, I did a summer internship for their Office of Appeals.
Ah, okay.
So, yeah, if anybody.
Be able to think like the enemy is good.
It's the other side of the ATV.
Yes.
That's right. And you realize you're going into the big season. We're probably going to have our rate hearing in a month or so, right? So.
Yep, I think that's why I'd been trying to get to this meeting. I went to the last meeting of the Board of Assessors, so met everybody there.
Very good. And I'd like
Large
to,
crowd.
Yes, yeah, a lot of people.
I'd like to point out that, your work on the board, if you're appointed, would not be to raise taxes, but simply to advise us on ways we can. So,
Yes.
but, very good. Any questions from the members?
No. No, I just want to say thank you. And
You're welcome. Thank you for.
All right. Well, then, I'll make a motion that we appoint Christopher Worthy to the Board of Assessors for a term expiring on June 30, 2015. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oop, Jason's got it.
Thank you.
All right. Second goes to Jason. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 3-0.
All right, great. Thank you.
Just need to get sworn at the town clerk's office, and you are ready to go.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Luck.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, we have a request for a cemetery deed, and I'll make a motion that we approve deed 2016 for lot 2-8 in section 21 to David and Jennifer Walsh. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
I think we're going back and forth.
Now, the next item is the approval and signing of the special town meeting warrant. And let's see, I understand we have some articles first to accept, right? Because we had not accepted them in our previous action.
That's correct. There's 3 articles remaining. I've pulled those out. They're in the STM subfolder under this evening's meeting folder.
They have numbers on them?
They're listed as, no, I don't think they have.
You have a hard copy?
I do.
Sorry.
So that would be the two.
So we have, well, these are controls, well, that's all right. Well, actually, we should be, all right, so we have 3 proposed articles. One that came in as control number J is the acquisition of real property interest for the Assabet River Rail Trail right-of-way. And this is sponsored by our town administrator. We had talked about this at the prior meeting, but we did not have meeting time to act prior to the warrant deadline, which is why it was submitted by the town administrator. And the action here would be to accept the control number J for the warrant on the special town meeting of October 22nd. And that is my motion.
27th.
27th, sorry. Thank you very much. That is my
Second.
motion. All right, we have motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Control J, the Assabet River Rail Trail article is accepted for the warrant. Then we have 2 articles coming in from Planning Board, Control F and Control G. Control F is a proposed amendment to Section 3 of the zoning bylaws regarding supermarket sizing. Control G is a zoning change for some properties in and around number 129 Acton Street. And I make a motion that we accept for the warrant for the special town meeting on October 27. Control F, the zoning bylaw amendment, proposed amendment to Section 3 use regulations. And Control G, the Acton Street property zoning change. Do we have a second?
Second?
Motion is second. Do we have any discussion from the board on the acceptance of the articles? Motion, all in favor? Okay, the acceptance of those articles passed 3-0. So, Kevin, what do we need to do? We need to approve the final warrant as printed?
Yes.
And this is the, what version is this? Is the 3:30 version?
At least. Yeah.
No, not number 3:30
Oh,
PM.
PM, yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's even a slight, it's not so much for the warrant, but there was some additional slight tweaks to a couple of, the three appendixes, relevant to 129 Acton Street. Just to further clarify, the existing, uses and actually the existing zoning that's currently there. There's an addition of what's listed as Appendix D. You have those three in Dropbox. Appendix D is an aerial photo that also further depicts the area. So that would be the only.
And I would note those are supporting items for the
Correct.
comments, not actually part of the articles.
That's correct. That would be, my point behind that was the only change between the 330 version and what is final now.
Okay, so what do we reference in our motion?
To
This
approve,
warrant draft we have here?
yes,
Warrant draft,
correct.
just gonna bring it up here.
4 hours ago. That's exactly 3:30.
Okay. So we have the draft warrant in our Dropbox, and
You'll notice there was some expanded sponsor comments and tried to do our best word processing efforts to try to minimize the length without making it completely unreadable, and et cetera. So the table of contents now, we've been able to eliminate one page.
okay.
So
So I'll make a motion that the board approve the final version of the warrant for the special town meeting to be held in the Fowler School Auditorium on Monday, October 27, 2014 at 7 PM. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion is second. Do we have any discussion about approval of the final warrant? Okay. All in favor? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Tommel.
How soon will the official warrant be available to the public?
Kevin, question
Thursday.
for you.
yeah, they'll be available by Thursday morning.
By this Thursday morning?
Correct.
Thank you.
And how many signature pages?
There's 2 signature
Two.
pages.
And
Signed.
Mr. Chairman, we will discuss the assignment of articles. to-
Yes, actually, I'd like to do that now,
And then I'll read the-
because I'd like to
Yeah.
have people get a head start on it, so if there's any follow-up questions or anything at our next meeting, it can all be taken care of then.
That's the only thing.
And, my general feeling is, hopefully, all of us should be able to explain any of these articles, but each of us will be responsible for presenting and developing the slides for certain articles, so, I kinda want Article 3 and 4, but I'm not real fixed on any of them. Anybody else have any preferences?
I'll take 1 and 2, if you want 3 and 4, but then Jason, do you want 5 and 6? 6 will be a, potentially, you know, I don't think it'll be controversial. I think there will be some questions on 6. And the zoning ones will be done by the planning board.
Yeah, they'll be
Yeah.
presented by the planning board. And if Kevin doesn't mind, we can present his article too.
Do you want 6 or no? It's up to you.
I can present it. I will defer questions to,
I don't think that will be too, the actual contract itself for the golf course?
I think
Well,
the-
it'd
I
be
think-
best if the presenter can answer almost all the questions.
Yeah, the level of the level of questions, I think, will go, on that one, will go to, there'll be questions about whether or not it's actually a 6-year term. Why are we contracting for, 10 years or whatever it is? It's up to,
Right.
There might be some discussion about, the future of the golf course, but.
Well, I did notice, Mr. Gavin, that you took the 2 easiest ones.
Well, that's fine.
You
I
could
think
give the
that-
new guy the easy
I'll
one.
take number 6.
I think that will also come up with Bill's number 4. So some of the questions that.
That's true, so there'll be a lead in there, yeah.
Some of the questions that, David, I think that would ordinarily come out of 6 will come up and get answered in 4, dealing with the improvements to the golf course clubhouse. Perhaps, too.
So how about Gavin do 1, 2, and 6, Cranshaw do 3, 4, and Jason, you get 5, and
okay?
perhaps now would be a good time for Kevin to explain 5. If you were up there and you had to do a 30-second spiel to explain to town meeting what they're being asked to vote on, what would
30
you
seconds
say?
it authorizes the Board of Selectmen to move forward with right-of-way and easement acquisitions for the rail trail. There's both permanent and temporary easements that are needed for the project to move forward. All those easements have been identified and are on a plan available in the town clerk's office, and they're all listed out, and so, I don't think that one's gonna be too bad.
All right, so my uneducated question is, haven't we done all this already? What's different now? Why are we doing this way now?
We have done some in the past. The big ones that we did was to capture Track Road, actually. There was some specific parcels that we did articles for this in the past. One of which was Track Road, which was a large sum of about
So
7.
the other authorizations were for specific pieces, and
That's
this
correct.
authorization's for all the rest of the little stuff?
Correct. In fact, this is gonna change, the motion is, that's why offline we'll definitely do some prep meetings, but
Yeah.
the motion's gonna specifically list out several parcels. So we're gonna have to, and that's still in legal.
Oh, you've changed the motion on them. Great, okay.
Yeah, the motion's gonna be what's gonna be very lengthy. The actual article itself captures kind of the general, which is okay, but the actual motion needs to call out, Lawton,
I heard.
Yeah.
I've never seen that done that way, but
yeah.
especially at this level, but.
All right, well, so I didn't realize that,
It's
Jason.
done
So
that-
you
it's
you
done
have
that-
the full right to
I-
back out on
either
that one
way.
if you want, and you can kick it to me if you
Done
want.
this way right in the article itself, in prior articles that we've done. Specifically, it calls out map and lot for the Track Road section, 191, something. But, yeah.
So, are you concerned that it will be in any way controversial, Bill?
No, it's just
Just-
It's
cumbersome.
just long.
Gotcha.
That's
That's
all.
fine.
I mean, you gotta sit up there and read really boring stuff correctly.
Yeah, for those that have some history, they probably will ask, as Bill's question, haven't we already done this? And we've had a few over the past, couple of them were actually ingrained within the CPC money allotments. That was just dealing with the actual finance part of it.
Well, remind me, because I did have this conversation with Linda earlier
Oh.
about, just a side note, but under the funding mechanisms and the money coming from DOT, and forgive me if I'm calling out the wrong part of DOT or what, but we were not authorized until this point to obtain easements.
Right.
So I mean, that's why it's happening now.
Correct. So it's happening now, in particular timing-wise. We can't enter into any negotiations or discussions with any property owners about easements, which, if that was the case, we would have roped it into the 129 Acton Street discussion.
But they have to be like the 75%.
Yeah, we have to get to 75% design before we can actually, and that was a change at the federal level recently. But we're anticipating getting there so that by April-ish, we'll be in a position where we can start to
So
negotiate some of
we
this.
would want to negotiate and potentially enter into an agreement prior to the next town meeting.
Yes, that's the plan. Based on the contract of GPI's project schedule, it's looking at between February and April. So it's really, the project is really picking up steam and moving. They had their kickoff meeting about a month ago at Mass DOT headquarters, and it's really now is a focused priority project. So we're anticipating February to April, but certainly before our next town meeting. That's why we want to be in a position to be able to do that.
And this is they're looking to go to bid, I was told, in potentially the fall.
Correct.
So that would be ahead of our potential fall town meeting, which
Correct.
means if we want this to go, we need to get moving.
That's correct. Yeah, the aggressive schedule looks at a potential bid for fall of 15.
And how many residents or how many property owners are going to need to grant easements? Do we have?
It's like 30-something.
Is that many?
Yeah, some of them are temporary easements, David, that just deal with the actual construction phase.
Yeah,
So just temporarily
to
taking
allow
a
us to
portion to
gain
allow.
access.
The bigger ones, the bigger ones, I'd say are probably half a dozen,
Have
6 to
those
12.
residents, they're aware? This
Yes,
is not going to be something that's like, what do you mean?
yeah,
Businesses or residents or?
yeah. Most of it is, everybody we've had discussions with in the past, some of which we've actually already had agreements in place.
Yeah.
And we've had the discussions with them again over the last couple of years.
Gotcha, okay.
The issue is that some of the ones we had in place, they were never filed were never filed with the registry, and there's issues, but they all know this is coming and are aware of it.
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't anticipate, other than some of the small identified temporary easements, everybody else is certainly aware of the project.
Okay.
I think, just as a side, the board is gonna have to look at some potential design changes that may come into place where it could affect, where we have to consider the effects on some parking in town, that we'll have to talk about under different pieces, particularly in the back of Subway where the parking is there, losing some spaces behind the Dunn Oil business, and then even potentially a few on Main Street by River Rock and the Savoring Indian Cuisine. But we're working the best we can to try to look at those designs to not lose those spaces, but due to DOT requirements with separation off of the sidewalk, the distance off sidewalk and stuff like that, it was looking like it may happen, but that's still uncertain. Definitely gonna lose spaces behind Subway, without a doubt.
And I don't want to get too far afield, but at the 25% completion, whatever when
Yeah.
we had that hearing over at Clock Tower Place a while, but it's now probably a year and a half ago, there was talk about actually having the official rail trail run down the middle of the parking lot.
Yeah, it was actually gonna
Because
go,
the belief was that's where people are gonna go anyway. If
Yeah.
you push them off to the side, they're not gonna go to the side, they're gonna go straight down the middle of the, is that
DOT is
a
not.
reality, or is that?
No, it's not a reality. Then what came out of that was, we'll just run them in front of the Subway, so when you open the door, you get hit by bicycles.
Right, that's,
What they're designed now is to take out a chunk of parking spaces, not behind Gruber's, further up, more closer Subway behind the
Right.
Dunn Oil.
right,
And that would expand out so that it's seamless, straight shot,
yeah,
instead of going in front of the commercial businesses. And we might be able to try to save some of those by doing, changing the actual parking
okay,
vertical. But we're definitely gonna in order to make it, the biggest, the most beneficial for the project is really no way of avoiding losing spaces there, no matter how they look at it, without affecting the businesses. And they were concerned about the safety aspect of that, And then also being on that side, between the two parking lots, the CVS and the main lot back there, pedestrian and vehicle issues, so. We will get a new bridge there, though. Right behind Gruber's, that connection that goes behind Post Office Square. That'll all be done. We've got a prefab layout that's gonna be a similar one that's going in Acton that they've already designed and looked at. It'll be a much expanded bridge there.
Expanded beyond, there is a walking bridge there.
There is,
now.
yeah, it's not wide enough,
Okay.
structurally. So,
No, we couldn't make it a fun design, huh? Has to be the prefab,
yeah, it's
state
some kind of
standard,
prefab
generic stuff.
bridge thing that, the other bridge area that's still going back and forth, just so you're aware, not to get too off topic, is the Winter Street cross, where Winter Street is, and they're still playing with that too. So those are probably the two biggest areas that they're still going back and forth. Everything else is pretty obvious, and then potentially here at Main Street, we're across Clock Tower parking lot, but they're probably the big three highlighted areas that the focus is.
All right, so I'm guessing if a question that detail comes up, Jason's pointing to you. So,
Yeah, sure.
That's good. All right, very good.
He's already ahead of the game. He's already talking with Linda and everything.
He is. He knew he was gonna
Were you
get that one.
anticipating that particular
No.
article?
Just likes to know.
No,
Like I
I'm in a
said,
bu-
we should
no, I'm in a-
all be able to explain every article.
I'm in a butter.
But,
So I'm sorry, can we run back through
yeah,
for the record?
1, 2, and 6 are Gavin.
Okay.
3, 4 Cranshaw, 5 is Creel.
Okay.
And-
So what we'll do, Becky's already started prepping the presentation slides. I think, we'll get the general in there, and then I'll work with the board to review the slides and add in any other information they want to.
Yeah, I just want to check in at our next meeting on progress on that, just to make sure.
Yeah, we'll have it before,
And,
back and forth.
I mean, we had a little problem at last meeting when one member didn't show, and we were kind of got a
Right.
little flat-footed, so.
Right, yeah.
Don't avoid us, just 3 of us here.
There's only 8 articles left.
Okay, anything else about the special town meeting you want to talk about at this meeting? We'll talk about it again next meeting.
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to arbitrarily jump the agenda here, just because we potentially have another signature document, and I don't want Becky to have to sit around all night waiting for things. We have in our correspondence, communication from Andrew about a letter of support for a transportation partnership being developed between the towns of Maynard and Acton in coordination with Emerson Hospital and other healthcare providers up in that area. And the general theme is we're writing a letter in support of a pilot initiative to try out a flex bus route that will go from the communities to the hospital and to the medical office buildings. And also a couple other initiatives of our local planning area, a pilot plan for extra last mile trips in the Devon area, and also MBTA rail line improvements on the South Acton line to better facilitate reverse commutes to our region. And as I understand, the pilot program, if it was accepted, would be funded for the first year by the state or somebody.
Correct.
Well, actually using federal pass-through money, CMAQ money, congestion management, air quality money, and other funds. So there wouldn't be any cost to Maynard for the pilot program, but we would keep in mind that if it was successful then, and it really worked and served our seniors and other people who are using the medical services, we would effectively be committing to spending money to operate it in future years. And Andrew's estimate was in the range of a $25,000 a year operating commitment to provide the rides to the, he provided some numbers as to the hundreds of expected ridership. But of course, we wouldn't have to commit that until after the pilot proved that there was the ridership and the need for trips from Maynard people to the medical areas. So I open it up to the board for discussion on whether we should write that letter of support.
It sounds like it's a no-risk thing, right? There's no, there's no real financial risk to the town at this stage. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
I would say that, although I would point out that it would, inappropriate is not quite the right word, but, you know, to have the pilot be successful and then say, nah, we don't want to pay for it in future years would be a little unfair to the grant programs, because we're competing against other people and they may be
Or it's the
supporting.
town.
So, in my mind, I mean, a commitment like this is a commitment that if it's successful and, you know, it's successful in the manner that we're expecting at this time and the costs we're expecting at this time, that we will probably step up to it
Yeah,
for
I would
future
agree with
years.
that.
And that also too, just, Mr. Chair, as a point to that, assuming there's no other grants available too.
Yeah.
A lot of the other
Future grants.
prior, you know, even with the Crosstown Connect work, we've been lucky to keep, you know, getting additional grant work. There might, you know, the CIC grant has been available the last few years. You know, it could become competitive again, and I think overall, the intent of where Crosstown Connect is looking to go to, the fact that Maynard actually contributes nothing to a transportation budget as is, something we probably need to look at the big picture, and if we can get some sort of functional transportation system in that price range, I think we'll be in a good shape, assuming that all of the numbers play out and there's demand for it. There's certainly, I mean, in any community, it's an investment that is never a break even with the donations and things like that. The community has to be vested in the need and fund it, so. But, you know, again, there might be additional grant opportunities that we could continue the program without local funds, or maybe just a portion of local funds that could be smaller.
And I would point out, you know, in my day job, I do a lot of these, and, you know, looking at the hoped-for numbers regarding cost and ridership, the per-trip rate was on the low end of such services. And I would also point out that the amount of cars on the road that are really heading to medical appointments are surprisingly high, much more than you think it is. So being able to get some of those into a bus would be great, and being able to actually get people who have no transportation options to the hospital and medical appointments would be great too. So
Absolutely.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, so, make a motion.
Yes, I'm a little puzzled as to the exact motion.
I don't know, Mr. Chair, if you mentioned, the actual draft letter is in Dropbox that actually says, at least it was.
Yes.
Where's it go? Oh, I'm in the wrong one. It is.
Letter of support, CIC.
That's correct. So that's essentially the language.
Those
What we would
guys,
do, if the board approves the support, we'll finalize it on, oh, you've already done that.
It's always easier when my letter is pre-written.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we provide a letter of support for the CIC transportation proposals.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? 3-0. Motion passes unanimously. And we'll just take a second to sign these.
Well, it sounds like it's third down at
Okay.
Town of Maynard keeps calling me.
Oh,
Keep getting robocalls.
yeah,
We get the spam.
that's the drop off and leaf pickup.
Where was that on the agenda, Bill?
New business.
It was under new business and chairman's report, but signature-wise, you know,
Yeah,
I think we got everything.
they met
signed here.
late Thursday afternoon after the Magic Transportation Forum, and it was like a last-minute thing that came up. Because it's last minute, because it's actually due Friday. Back to them, so. And there's, just to point out, there's several other partners that have also written support letters for the grant, in addition to
True, right.
local partners.
All right, so, next agenda item is item number 9, the town administrator annual evaluation recap. And
Thanks.
a copy of that
Take that
was
one change and send it to
put in Dropbox. I also have hard copies here if you guys want.
Sure.
Kevin, I don't even know if you've seen this.
I haven't.
Okay, you have? Okay.
I have not.
Oh. I guess I'm over relying on our Dropbox for just distributing messages and whatnot. But, so this is in regards to the town administrator's 2014 performance review, and the Board of Selectmen has a process, standardized process to go through each year. This year, I'm calling it an abbreviated process because we only had 2 members of whom had any experience with the town administrator during the past year. And we are a little delayed in this as well due to some vacancies on the board. But both David and I met with Kevin and went through some standard review worksheets. And, you know, that includes rating categories, a scale of 1 to 4, and also comments. And I've compiled the findings into this summary performance review. And big picture is Kevin did good. We're glad he's here.
Thank you.
And we can move on. But I'll open it up to comments from the board, if there are any.
No, I think my only comments would be that, you know, Kevin and I sat down, we had a good discussion. I think he has a good understanding of what, you know, what my expectations are, and I expressed those to him, and I think they're summarized pretty well in your summary. And, you know, I thank Kevin for his efforts, and I'm glad to have him here and glad to continue to work with him.
Thank you.
And I'll make the promise right here and now that we're gonna get this done early or on time for this year. So I'm gonna make a point of bringing that up at our very first November meeting,
Yeah,
or that, when the new guys get here.
totes low on the priority usually.
But
I think it's somewhat,
we'll get it done before the end of the year and new election cycle.
when you look at the ratings, that since there were only 2 of us, it's pretty easy to tell where there were differences, although we don't know who rated which one on which ones. But it's pretty remarkable at how similar they are as you go down the list. So I think, despite the fact it was just 2 of us evaluating Kevin, I think it's a pretty good reflection of, it's not like we were in divergent corners, whatever, so
No, certainly not.
I think it's a fair reflection.
And I will also note that the rating system developed in past years appears to be slightly out of date now that we've added new positions and, you know, taken away primary duties away from Kevin's plate on a couple little things. So I'm going to use that as a segue into agenda item 10, which is a discussion of permanent subcommittees and the need to sometimes get some in-the-weeds work done, not on a Tuesday night. And I'll note that the school committee has some permanent subcommittees, some made of the committee as a whole, and some not. Things like contract negotiations and budget, and they have a policy committee. And what I'm suggesting is that, for starters, the Board of Selectmen establish a permanent subcommittee on policy and regulations, because we have a bunch of little stuff that we have been talking about for a while, but we really haven't finished off. Water and sewer regs, cemetery regs, maybe even the nuisance bylaw about vacant structures, probably a few other things I haven't thought about, naming policy, things like that. And it needs to get done. Our typical operating procedure is to talk about it for a while and forget about it, but it would be nice if, I think a permanent, subcommittee on policy and regulations could take that up, not on a Tuesday night. And so what I'm suggesting is that, there's one subcommittee, I think we definitely can identify, and perhaps others in the future, but for starters, I would suggest that we establish a permanent subcommittee on policy and regulations, and that we populate it with 3 members of the board for current fiscal year terms. It wouldn't be permanent assignments, just be current year assignments. So I'll throw out those thoughts to the board members.
I think it makes some good sense. The one thing that I always concern myself with, not only for myself, but for my fellow board members and those in the future, is the meeting fatigue aspect. And, we're here every other week for typically 3 to 4 hours and various 3 or 4 hour meetings, at least once a month, if not more often. So that's the one caution that I have, is that you don't want to get ourselves into a situation like that. But I agree, part of the reason why perhaps we're here 4 hours on a Tuesday night is because we do things that could be handled in a subcommittee environment and brought back to the board for a much briefer discussion. So I think that's the intent, and if that is the intent indeed, then it's valuable, because it, all of us have other lives outside of this that we want to attend to, and so that's the one caution I have. But I think that this actually addresses some of the concern of the length of other meetings. So.
All right.
No, I agree I think I agree with the need. We do need to jump on some of these things, and, doing it for 2 hours before work in the morning, and then sending it to Kevin or Becky, and then having them pull everybody's thoughts together and then come before another meeting just seems like a lot of time and a lot of effort on everybody's part that could be curtailed. My only caution would be, I think, for starting, I think a policy and regulations subcommittee with 3 members would is probably a big bite, but I think maybe for the first year we would do that, and maybe after that, maybe next year we'd split that up into maybe breaking those up a little into DPW or budget, or breaking those up into sort of a little bit, I hate to say, a little bit more of a silo, so that different people who may be interested in different pieces can help work on.
Yeah, now, actually, I wasn't thinking that this committee would do, for example, budget.
I'm throwing budget out there.
I was thinking really written policies, like the
Like
the last tweaks to the sewer regs and the last tweaks to the cemetery regs,
Okay,
just to get them done. And granted, I understand that we have some of them built up, but, I wouldn't think that this stuff would show up every year.
Nope.
But, yes.
Yeah, again, if it's going to be, if it's going to be more like the finishing touches on things that are brought before us,
Yeah, I think so.
as opposed to more spearheading some of these I know there's, for instance, I'm familiar with DPW. They've got a long list of regulations that we've never touched, or we don't have policies, and those are starting to show up one by one.
Yeah, because I think actually there's some advantage to, the idea being presented so that all the, big picture opinions from all the board members can be heard.
Yep.
And then the subcommittee can respond to
Agree.
that.
That's fine.
Okay. So I was thinking of making a motion to establish the subcommittee. I have a question for the members, whether you want to populate the subcommittee at this time.
Populate with 3 members, that's a full board, we have to post it.
Well, we would have to post that, I'm
Three
assuming these
members you'd
committees
have
have
to
to post all the time anyways,
That's true.
but their quorum would be 2, I guess,
Yeah.
to meet. But they would always be posted. It's not trying to get around that stuff. It's just to be able to meet in smaller groups. But I don't know if you guys want to populate the committee before the new members join, or what, I mean.
I would just assume wait for the new members and work out what we need to work out in the
Find out
next,
what
in
their
the next
interests
month.
may be
Yeah,
and-
I mean, we could work out what we need to get done in the next month,
Okay.
the way we've been going.
All right, so I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen establish a permanent subcommittee on policy and regulations. That committee being a 3-person committee of members of the board, and that the term of those members be renewed or be concurrent with the fiscal year.
Second.
So we have motion and second. Do we have any further discussion?
Yeah, have you, will we have further discussion, I assume we will, down the road on other subcommittees that you're thinking about? What,
I'm not really thinking about others. I mean, budget probably, because the school has a budget. I mean, I don't know that contract negotiations, it seems to work pretty well
I
with
think we work
those
pretty well with
guys.
that.
So, I don't know, the new members, whether they'd be interested in that or have experience in that, but I could see a budget is always a big thing. I mean, we tend to have some sort of informal grouping with that anyways.
yeah, we used to have the, well, that could also, well, we've gone in a different direction with capital issues. Those have sort of been taken off.
Oh, yeah, I suppose, I don't know. I was just gonna leave it open to,
Okay, that's fine.
the pleasure of the board.
Just wanted to get an idea of to how extensive you think this list will get. Now, I see the schools, and I don't know how they run their subcommittees. We have a former member of the school committee here who might be able to tell us, but just how often they met and et cetera, and exactly how they impact the flow of the processing of the meeting. Ken, can you briefly talk about the role of subcommittees at the school committee and how they operate, how often, when they meet, how they present to the full board?
Yeah, so it varies. The budget committee is probably one of the more formal ones, so we meet. First off, none of our subcommittees have more than 2 people, 2 members on it. Part of that is just so that there's not a quorum and that, any decisions that are made, they're coming back before the full board for decision. I'm not suggesting it has to be that way, I'm just saying that's the way it is, in response to your question. Some of them are more informal, such as the policy one. Bill Coleman tends to do that on his own. And he'll work with the administration to draft or revise policies and then bring it before that. So, I would classify that one as more of a sort of a working group or working committee, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just to come off of that, some of that too is defined in the charter as far as responsibility and role, which is a lot more loosely defined for the school committee.
Right.
So this could be getting a little, with the charter, which the duties of the town administrator to handle contract negotiations as well as budget prep up until the town meeting piece. So just to.
I don't think contracts was going to be something.
Yeah, no. The other thing, just as a side, we have a legal opinion that err aside of the quorum issue. If it's an appointed subcommittee, it has to meet open meeting law. So if the chair actually says, these two people will serve on a committee and it's formalized like that, it still is gonna require open meeting law and still posting of meetings. And if it's an informal, two members getting together to work on a project, it's a different, kind of a different animal. But just as we think about how many of these do we really wanna sign up for, which is gonna require 48-hour notice, is gonna require.
That's part of the whole problem.
Yeah, so. I think definitely the policy and regulation one is what stands out in my mind as the biggest need, which is really what the board's here for.
Yeah, and, if we have 3 members and, the quorum will be 2, and if they're all into cemetery stuff, they can work on it, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, once we get 5 members, people can pair up and submit ideas to the board, I suppose.
Right,
but
right.
We can't do that with 2, or
Right.
with 3 members.
Yeah.
All right. Motion second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 11, the economic development updates. Kevin, what do you got for us?
Sure. Not a whole lot. A couple I'd like to lead off just with updates on the Economic Development Committee. As a whole, it's moving along. Actually, Chris, who was before us this evening, is the chairman, Chris Worthy, that we just appointed the Board of Assessors as the chairman of that group. They've been doing a mix of meetings with early Tuesday morning and kind of a later Thursday evening, 5 o'clock. What we've seen is a larger increase in resident and business owners that are attending. There was 3 residents and a business owner that attended our last meeting, and another one is actually planning to come to our future meeting. So there's a lot of general interest in what the committee is hoping to accomplish, and the group's getting focused on business development concerns, and it's been productive lately. There's, like anything, there's a lot of getting going and getting it off the ground, and everybody's ideas, and getting somebody to actually pick up the ball on certain things, and trying to get a hold of that. Who's going to do the actual heavy lifting in some areas? So that's moving along great. Bill Nems is working with WAVM and some other professional outside groups on a 2-minute sort of branding type of video. He's got a professional voiceover that lives in town that does work and is volunteered to do the work. I can't recall her name. I'll get that. But she's volunteered at no cost to do the actual moderated commentary of it, and it's exciting. It looks like it's going to be a good script, and at least get something out there to brand Maynard. Other item of note is if anybody's noticed, the Savoring Indian Cuisine is no longer. The former Monsoon 2 next to River Rock has closed. It's been noticeably closed for about the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, it's been signed temporarily closed.
There's a sign on there that's temporarily closed. The Acton location is still open, but there's no real belief that doesn't mean permanently closed. With regards to the liquor license, because we didn't receive any notice of their intention to close. We've sent them a letter, I think as of today, and given them notice about that in section 17. So the board will get a copy of that notice as well. But it does look like, certainly from what we've been able to tell and monitor from day and evening visits and the sign on the door, that there's no intention to, looks like some of the stuff may have even been relocated.
They haven't been open since, I want to say, the 20th?
September 20th?
I'm sorry, what was Maynard Fest? 27th?
27.
7th.
I believe that was the first day I noticed
That's
it.
correct, yeah. It's been about last week and a half, too. A couple of weeks that we've definitely noticed it. And then I've asked the police chief just to make some logs, because that's usually, as the agents of the local licensing authority, a good way that we can document that the location hasn't been open. So that's one that's coming out. We have given notice, but just as aside from that, we do, as we look at economic development engines, obviously that's the intent behind the board's article for the liquor license home rule petition, but there's others out there that are looking. I've mentioned in the past, we've been in close discussions with a brewery that's looking to locate to Maynard, and it's all tied to being able to get a liquor license. So this is one location. We don't know what the future of it is, and also the Peyton's license that's still are now 2 establishments that aren't operating in town, from what we can tell, so.
Can I ask you a question, and if you're unable to answer it, or if it's an inappropriate question, just feel free to say, can't comment.
Sure.
I had a discussion this past week with Joe Mullen regarding some issues that they're waiting on relative to their financial situation with the bank. Have we heard anything from?
That's my next bullet. I have
Okay, sorry.
I don't have an update for us this evening, other than that I have a meeting scheduled with Joe and Bob Donato from Wellesley Management, specifically around that, because I'm in the same boat. I need to get an update. I need to know what's going on. We've heard some kind of talk around that the actual bank finance, JP Morgan, is some interest with some proposals from some investors, but I don't know what that means. And
Yeah, they were very excited about some opportunities that were possible, but I guess there was some type of, he referred to it as an RFP process.
That's correct. Yeah, so that's it. JP Morgan has actually done, through a broker type of sort of RFP, for lack of a better word, attracted investors, potential investors. They've submitted proposals, and it's now with the bank as far as they're weeding through the proposals, and we're hopeful, I think they're gonna end up selecting an investor that they can move forward. But that's kind of what I need to get more information and confirmation from my meeting next week. That was my last economic development update. But so hopefully, hopefully we'll see some good things. Also, just as a side, I can't say who the tenant is publicly, but there's some interest from a very large entity that could be acquiring a significant amount of space there if all goes well as well. So I've got my ear to the pulse there, and we're talking a major piece, 100,000 plus square feet. So
Excellent.
I'm hopeful. We're doing what we can to try to move that along and work with those guys. But lately, it's been a little tough.
Chris, you're here. Thank you for chairing that committee. I didn't put 2 and 2 together when I had heard, speaking to some members, that Chris, this guy Chris, he's an attorney. I didn't, put that together. So thank you for that, for working with that committee.
Yeah, we certainly have put his willingness to volunteer to work.
Yeah, so.
When we got him on the Economic Development Committee, looking at his resume, how could we pass him up as a potential Board of Assessors? So
Yeah, so
thank you to him
thanks
for
for
his
that.
willingness. Any other questions?
Question for you about the committee. You had volunteered them to provide some feedback to us on local liquor license regs. Any thoughts about, when the committee's gonna be able to get to that?
I don't know. I'll have to follow up. I've been doing it indirectly through Bill and Andrew. I don't know if we've discussed it with Chris or not, but I'll get an update on that. When are you folks meeting this Thursday?
Thursday, yeah.
Which Bill and Andrew won't be at, and then I think probably at the next meeting.
What time is that meeting on Thursday?
5 o'clock.
Is the 5 o'clock meeting?
Yeah, we've been alternating it just to give residents, business people a chance to, if they can't make the morning, give them an afternoon meeting to be able to come to.
You meet here?
Yes, right in the finance room.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And, I don't know, we did talk initially about that, the liquor license aspect, but I don't know if we've really brought it up again since then, so maybe we'll get together again and make sure that is a
Yeah.
topic of exactly what we should talk about.
A couple other questions on the economic development thing. There haven't been any takers on Sunday morning liquor sales?
No,
I haven't seen any paperwork on that.
no.
Okay.
I don't think
Can
the
they,
interest is
do they,
there.
for clarification purposes, I know that the state basically said the community, municipality has no right to block it, but they still have to come and get permission for that?
Yes.
Okay, so there's some type of licensing, a permit application that they apply, but we
Yeah.
can't
Yeah,
block it.
there's paperwork
But
on
we
it.
can't
It's
block it.
paperwork, yeah.
Got it,
And it's an
okay.
amendment on their application which specifically specifically applies for their business hours that
Yeah.
they operate on
Okay.
Sunday.
I suppose maybe that will come up at license renewal time or something.
Yeah, that could too.
Okay.
That'll be before us very shortly. That's why I mentioned particularly those other two establishments we'll have to have a discussion on. Anything else?
Yeah, the only other thing on my list is, the correspondence from Capital Group about 129 Parker Street, and unfortunately, they had contacted us like the day after our last selectmen's meeting. It's been 3 weeks, and, I mean, we really need to respond back to them. I just don't know, I know you talked to special counsel, and I know their letter was a little unclear.
So we have responded back to them in the sense of, I mean, not the board, it was addressed to special counsel as an informal, looking to seek an informal kind of other meeting. We've responded back with where the town stands on what they've submitted, and that we need a lot more further clarification and a more formal presentation to then have a formal response from the Board of Selectmen. There's a lot of uncertainty with what came across in that email. But we have been in touch. It's not that they submitted something 3 weeks ago and nobody's talked to them.
Okay, now, when do we expect to be able to get a sit-down with them?
They actually,
Next week or two?
to be truthful, they've actually have backed off with wanting to meet with the selectmen. They, in the sense that they really wanted, when we had the discussion at our last meeting, which initiated this informal email proposal, they were hoping to sit with the Board of Selectmen when there was a full board. But I certainly think if the board wants to meet again, members of the, it's a little tougher with a 3-member board. But you know that you sat in with Brendan and yourself. They certainly, I think, would be welcome to that. But my last conversation with them is their preference was to wait to see when you had a full board, which would put us into November.
For a presentation?
For a formal meeting.
Really?
I think, I mean, partially they may be waiting to see what happens at the special town meeting. So that,
I don't think we got
the end of October, and then.
Do we have any written correspondence to that effect? I mean, I'm just, the administrative record just shows us as not responding, and I want to respond. I think it's a good idea, and, frankly, I'd meet with them tomorrow if they wanted to, but.
Yeah, well, I don't think the record as, I mean, they didn't reach out to the Board of Selectmen in essence. I mean, it wasn't.
Well, I mean, they reached out to our designee, it's the same difference, and, and we really, actually, at this point, we can't have conversations without board participation and even broader participation if we actually want to get things done. 'Cause
Yeah, no, that's fair, and we've said that.
And, maybe they don't understand that, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you read the informal proposal, it says they'd like to set up a meeting prior to meeting with the Board of Selectmen. And then in the actual meetings with them, they've said that they were holding off until there was a full board. But certainly, I don't think they're against meeting. I mean, if they want to arrange a meeting with the Board of Selectmen.
All right, so I think I'll probably.
It could only be one member at this point.
Yeah, right. I'll probably put together, maybe for our next meeting, I'll probably put some formal correspondence from the board to that effect. Show that we're ready to meet with them, and give them some guidance on topics, probably. Just, it's kind of too bad they want to wait till after the full board's here, just because, just chewing up more time. But
Yep.
I don't think they have much to worry about at town meeting, but who knows? So I guess I'll bring something to the rest of the board for the meeting on the 21st, some sort of response invitation letter, some formal thing. I'd be a little more comfortable if we actually got the communication going that way instead of what might be interpreted as backdoor, but really is just innocent. Okay.
That's fair. I can't speak to their strategy with many things, so.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. I
they're,
mean, it does delay it, but that's the impression
I don't know.
gotten, that they're, you know,
I still chalk it up to them misunderstanding our process constraints, but,
right. They still have not reached out for the mass housing, the letter, yet as well on that piece. So I think they're kind of waiting for, you know, to see how things play out before we get they move forward with that,
yeah,
the 40B application.
okay. I don't have anything more on economic development updates. Does anybody else?
No.
All right, we can move on to the town administrator report.
All right. So last Thursday, on October 2nd, Bill Nemser and I attended the Magic Regional Transportation Forum, which was held in Devens, was well attended by many local and state and regional officials, as well as representatives of the transportation authorities that operate along the Fitchburg line and the Magic area, essentially to discuss suburban mobility challenges, particularly focused on that, and get an update on the Fitchburg line and the status of the Acton station and so forth. A lot of good discussion and recognition into the issues that are with regards to transportation and the issues with the reverse commuting and last train home type of issues, that sort of last mile to and from, you know, first and last mile. And part of what we're working with Acton eventually with the Crosstown Connect program, and as a whole regional conglomerate, look to expand that piece with, and I can see with, particularly in Maynard, with the addition of the second rail in the Acton station, the parking is already at a major strain, and we may look at some opportunity there to try to, but it has to be dependable, you know, dependable and routine service. So there's a lot of discussion on the northern the side where Littleton and the people that work at Devens and the Devens Enterprise Commission and Bristol Myers Squibb is looking at adding a few hundred more jobs. So they're looking at how do they get them from Littleton to Devens piece. So there's a lot of good discussion, and it's a quick sort of 3-hour in and out, but it's a good opportunity for Bill and I to hear what was going on in the region. Bruce Davidson, I think the board is familiar with Bruce and his hands that he's had in many different projects in Maynard, but most recently with the Serendipity Cafe. Bruce owns the EP Landscape and is going to be donating plantings to the town hall in Maydog Park, and is looking at doing some of that with really just we may look to ask for a couple of town employees to assist with the labor, kind of as a day thing, a community initiative, and we may end up having to foot the bill on some mulch and some topsoil. But
Yeah, Bruce did a tremendous job down in front of the church.
So that's all coming here.
I know that, and that's, you know, for whatever reason, the church decided they didn't want
Yeah.
his plantings there anymore.
Right.
But I mean, they're beautiful. He
Yeah,
did a fabulous job. So I'm happy to hear that we're going to be able to help him out, not only him, but the community out by taking advantage of his skills, because he did a fabulous job down there. It was great. I can't believe that they
Yeah, well,
ripped
we've
it
been
out,
talking.
put grass in.
We've been talking internally a lot around that, you know, beautification of town hall, improving the sign that's out there, doing some of those things, and this project kind of fell on our lap, and we weren't interested in saying no to some free, good plantings.
Okay.
What I didn't want is somebody's old chair that we inherit and have to throw out, but we see a viable afterlife for these, and knowing Bruce's work, I know I think it'll be a good project, and it will really look to enhance the town hall. He's also going to do a little bit of smaller piece by the dog park. I don't know. We're not dealing with that really, but certainly the town hall piece. So that, you'll see that in the next couple of weeks, so.
I'm very happy to hear that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We can be able to keep up with McDonald's restaurant, because
I tell you,
stuff looks better
I don't
every
know,
day.
I don't know, we got the budget to keep up with that.
No,
The answer is yeah.
we
The
don't
short
sell,
answer is
we don't sell
probably
$3
no.
million in hamburgers.
Oh, no? Okay.
I tell you, they do a great job with that. And the mom's budget is running short
Ah,
on the town side.
okay.
King Information Systems, we've met again with King. They spent about 6 days in town doing a full assessment of the archived areas and plan and map room and file rooms in town hall, and have come back with a full archive debrief and strategy and plan to move forward, looking at implementing that, getting it on their schedule. It's about a 30-day full process that they're here, and it's going to be day and night. We're talking about, we're talking about just on the destruction side of things. I mean, hundreds of boxes. And then on the other side, an actual organization file management system that we can actually locate, and it's going to be. I'm thrilled about the project. I mean, it's really we're going to have a lot more space that's going to be freed up in town hall, and not looking to have space that's going to create more dumping area, but usable space that we can really capitalize on and move forward with better record management. Again, mostly dealing with the archival and process there. So it's we're looking at probably the whole month of January into potentially first week or two of February. But they have about 40 pages worth of material that they've gone through and I've identified, and then several pages of recommendations. We spent about 3 hours with them today, and it's exciting. So keep the board posted on that. Another exciting news I've mentioned in the past that been discussing with trying to come up with creative ways that we can with our insurance, health insurance piece. And some exciting news, we're going to be switching over to the MedX system for the retirees. It's from a MedX 3 to a MedX 2. It's been going on for the last 3 or 4 months or so, been back and forth with Meyer and what this is going to look like. So we're moving forward with it. We're setting up a couple of informational sessions for the retirees. There's a massive mailing that's going out. There's an informational session that's going to be held October 21st, which is an afternoon and evening session. What essentially the short end of it is we've changed a plan that really has no negative effect to the subscribers. Covers still all the same. It's a change to the prescription drug piece, and nothing really is changing there. It covers 99% of all of the medications they're currently on. And what'll end up happening is we've actually, by doing this, we're looking at about a $360,000 a year savings that's going to be saved to the town, and about another $120,000 that's going to be dispersed amongst the actual subscribers. So they're going to be seeing savings from this, but an even bigger savings is so if you look at it from our entire health insurance budget, it's about a 5% reduction from that. So it's great news. It's very positive. We had to wait because we had to wait and see what the federal rates that came out today. So I got our sheet today, and it says about looks like it's going to be about $360,000 savings for the town's insurance. And
it really doesn't affect their benefits
No.
at all?
Yeah, no. And of course, it's already started. Some of them have already heard about some potential changes and have reached out to Gloria, our benefits consultant. But again, we're doing a massive. They've heard because we've had to contact them to make sure we had the right mailing address. Some of that wasn't accurate, so it has kind of surged some questions, and they talk to their friends and so forth. But the meeting that they're having, I think, will go well, and it's like I said, it's a savings to them, it's a savings to us, and it really was a no-brainer as we started planning it out. So, no real impact to speak of.
Very good.
But it's exciting that,
Yep.
that it's a huge opportunity to capture. So, that'll help whatever our potential increase is for FY16 pretty well, so. Actually Andrew and I attended the MMA legislative meeting last week, actually just this past Friday in Oxford. Kate Hogan, Representative Hogan, was in attendance, as well as a couple of other state reps and a senator. Provided, essentially it was a legislative agenda review, a quick 2-hour Q&A type of thing. The focus was on releasing Chapter 90 money, focus to push and expand on Chapter 90 money, and there was a lot of discussion on OPEB reforms. Of course, nobody has answers, but a lot of questions dealing with other post-employment benefits and the real issue there. So it was well attended and a good meeting. I think they ran 4 of them across.
Yeah, we hosted one of those one year.
Yeah.
And we should
Several
put our name.
years
We should
ago.
put our name in again
Yeah.
for hosting.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, we were at Oxford Police Department, which was a great facility.
Ours was at the library when we
Yep.
hosted it. It's very well.
Yeah, I'll throw it back in there with Katie McHugh and offer space. A couple of other quick notes that's going around town. The town is the drop-off center is opening this Saturday, October 11th. It'll be open from 8 to 12. I think that messages should be on the website now. Hopefully, I know that's the reverse 911s you were getting.
It's working.
So that'll be open. Also, November 1st, we'll be holding a rabies clinic, same location for dogs and cats on Saturday, November 1st from 10:30 to 11:30 at the DBW garage. That information's already on the town website. The other item.
And the opening of the drop-off now once again includes
Brush.
brush?
Yes, they will be chipping brush for $5 a load, and that should have been in that message.
So that gets
Jason,
to the woman's
yeah.
letter that we got.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we've reinstated that. And, yeah.
You want to talk about your bigger?
Yeah, I'm
picture for that?
working with. I'm trying to come up with a better solution for dealing with these types of issues. Drop off for accessibility and more convenience for residents 5 times a year on Saturday, and how we can expand and improve that program. I've had them doing some internal design work with Wayne through Wayne to look at the Pine Street location at the if you ever go down Pine Street where the wastewater treatment plant is, there's a large flat surface area to the right where they used to dump all kinds of leaves. They used to have it as an off extra parking. The Council on Aging van used to park down there. A lot of DPW old vehicles that were no longer used, they would just dump there and they auction them off once every 10 years. Right now, it's an area of land, it's town-owned, that really isn't being utilized in that sense anymore. And looking at redesigning and rethinking a drop-off center that could be more accessible and also more useful in the sense of being able to drop off yard waste consistently and things like that. So looking at what the design and then moving forward as a capital investment. And I just think, where the current drop-off location is bad to begin with, not to mention there's potential issues that are around there with the water and everything else. The rail trail going back behind there. We've tried to clean it up with, putting in those privacy slats into the fence, a new fence, and, kind of keeps everything behind the fence out of sight. But that's been my goal over the last several months, looking at how can we enhance opportunities for the residents to be able to dispose of it. So more to come, I think there.
Do you expect this to be part of the capital
Yes.
discussion for Springtown meeting?
Yes. Yep. And the design would just be modern, what a typical community drop-off facility looks like, so be a good thing. What else do I have? Last item I had was a couple, actually, real quick. We've come to agreement on the AFSCME union, and we hope to present that to be ratified at our next meeting on the 21st. We've had several meetings with AFSCME. It's been a tough negotiation. As you know, I mean, they started out with a 15% request, and we've been able to take out significant pieces of impacts to the town. We've been able to negotiate out and got them down to something much more reasonable. That is a good contract for them, but is a good contract for the town. We've gotten to asking for the most, giving up the least, to giving up the most, and getting somewhere towards the most. So we'll present that whole breakdown and discussion for the 21st. They finally came around. I think we were looking at it being much longer. So several meetings we've been able to come to an agreement. The other thing of note is there was 102 compound meters or irrigation meters that residents were not sent their water bills with this last quarterly billing, and that was due to a software glitch within the software piece for the billing. We're looking at that now. We have a meeting tomorrow to review all this, and those bills will be getting sent out within a week. But I think there's 102,
No hurry.
102 customers. But are you one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you are one.
Double
yeah.
it.
You're one.
No.
Oh, double.
Bill's
his.
one, double his.
So there's 102 total, and we know it happened, and we've been working it out with SoftWrite. I now have a debrief meeting tomorrow to find out what exactly went wrong. But those bills will be sent out. They're sent, the 2 bills. So you must have noticed you only received one.
I know, I just asked today when I paid the other ones, like, I'm probably supposed to have 2, where is it?
Oh, okay. Well, what did they tell you?
They were working on it.
All right. All right.
Didn't get anything quite as definitive as what you just
Yeah,
said.
that's the answer.
Okay.
It will be coming. I mean, it's not a lot, but a lot of money. But
Now, that only affects the standalone irrigation meters, it doesn't?
That's correct.
This isn't a glitch in the deduct meters, is it?
No.
Okay.
No,
That'd be-
just those 102 compound or irrigation meters.
I got you,
Yep.
okay.
And last thing, just the would indulge me for another minute. Had been looking at the effect on the new policies regarding the bills for seniors and the de minimis bills, if you will, not sent. And just as a kind of a quick snapshot, there's prior to the change, there was 275 residents that were taking advantage of that. Up until September 19th, because that's when we shut it off for the cycle, we were up to 404 residents. Since September 19th, we have about 20 or 25 that are sitting there. So you figure there's probably about 430 currently out of what was previously 275, for a total of about 106,720.64 to the system based on the 404 number. If you add in the other 20 to 25, it's about another $6,600.
And that,
So the difference is about, right now, is about $35,000. The impact and the change from, what did we have, what was we before, 72 age?
75.
75,
oh, yeah. down
so
to
75. So since that,
Combined water plus sewer?
yes,
Difference?
water, sewer, I think it's a 500 cubic feet, I think it's 6620.
Yeah, I get you, okay.
So it comes with 6620, so if you take 6620 and multiply that by the number, so if it's 440, that's where you come up with the 106,000. So as of right now, it's safe to say it's probably had about an additional 35 to 40, 45, depending on who else shows up, impact to the revenue.
Do you know what that is as a percentage of the operating
revenues.
from, on the water and sewer side? I'd be interested to see what that
Yeah,
is, because if it's, you know, 0.5%, that's not a big deal, but if
Right.
that's 4,
You mean specifically the
4%.
35 to 40?
Well, there's a lot of zeros on that budget.
Yeah, there is.
That's not a big number in that budget.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
okay,
know what the
still.
the revenue side, that's easy to do, I can get that, just so we know.
Yeah, I
It
think,
doesn't stop, I mean, every month we, you know, we get more, so we, you know, this month, you know, it was a big surge, you know, in August, and then, it sort of has died off a little bit, but,
Well, what it shows is that the word got out on that change.
yeah, I think the biggest impact was the, COA newsletter,
Ah, yes.
which captured it. So that's about where we're at. I'll keep monitoring it. I'll see what those impacts are. Obviously, in the budget discussion, when we meet with Toby on the rate setting, you know, he's gonna really look at it, and
like I said,
Yeah,
he'll ask,
it's a
he'll
variable.
ask
that-
what that ends up being
Yeah.
as a percentage, what's no longer coming in, because that's, I mean, I
He'll
know
know off the
we
top
were
of his head.
significantly close on raising rates, I think, last go-around.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We made it by, David, 5 years?
I think it's 6 now.
6, yeah, 6.
Might be 5.
Close. Real quick though, while we're talking seniors, the newsletter is due, the fall newsletter's due out next week. That should be going out. And then a couple of other, been working very diligently. Andrew's put in a lot of effort with the COA and working with John Edson and plans for moving the COA agenda forward. We have Shine counseling being offered at Town Hall now, which is offered by Minuteman. There's a Shine, those that don't know Shine, it's serving the health insurance needs of everyone. It's a senior program that's run out of the Department of Elder Affairs. There's a state health, it's basically a state health insurance assistance program that provides free health insurance information to, and counseling to Massachusetts senior residents with Medicare. So they are now coming to Town Hall and offering counseling with regard that, which is a new addition, and we'll be offering opportunities in October and November as of now. So that's a good thing. And again, we just continue to look at improving the COA operations and move that forward.
Okay.
So I got, oh, I don't know if you were gonna, Bill mentioned the passing of our past COA director.
We did, at the beginning of the meeting.
I missed that?
Yes, you were out of the room.
Okay, never mind. That's
And-
all I have.
And one of our COA members.
That's correct, you know, member, yep.
Follow up on some of your stuff, Kevin. Last meeting, we had a citizen's comment about, you know, the skateboard area
Yeah.
at Crow. And just curious what your thoughts on next steps are. I mean, one, I guess, would be to see if the police and school committee want to do it.
Right,
And then, I don't know, how to figure out
yeah.
how to do it.
Yeah, no, that's looking at doing the research on it now. And it's on my task list to kind of, to not lose track of it. But yeah, they're talking about expanding the skate park, expand the parking into the skate park, and we're gonna do some preliminary research into the restrictions there, and then move forward.
So then, once you figure out the restrictions, you'll
Yeah, absolutely.
just hand it over to
There's
school
still
committee?
not clarity.
I don't know if
on-
school committee even wants to, so, and I don't know if
Yeah.
police thinks it's a good idea, so,
Right.
you know, those strike me as the
Oh,
early,
yeah,
early
absolutely.
steps.
That's fair. I've discussed it with, you know, just the general makeup of it, with Chris, and had discussions with him, and now we're gonna get some preliminary research on the restrictions, and then we'll be able to move it forward.
Okay. And then, wonder about next steps for exploring the issues of senior tax relief that we talked about with Kate.
Yeah,
And I don't know if, you know, the opportunity of the coming rate hearing is
I think
an
that's,
opportunity to do that, or we, you know, would have some idea of the magnitude of the
Right.
numbers or something like that.
I've actually shared the document that Rep. Hogan shared with us, with a couple of the finance team and ask them for to review it thoroughly and, provide some discussion and input at our next finance team meeting, which is on the 14th. So I will be meeting with my finance team and get, any concerns that they see out of it, and whether it probably warrants a discussion with the Board of Assessors when the chair and assessor come in to present during the tax rate hearing.
Oh, so they're not involved on the 14th?
Angie is. I don't know if she shared it with her board or not, but
We got
we
you.
make sure they.
And the hearing's gonna be,
It's the second meeting in November, not the 5th, so I think it's the 18th.
oh, gotcha, yeah,
Yeah,
5th is a
18th.
Wednesday, 18th, yeah, okay. I
Yeah, we, just as a side, everybody, well, we have one in between there, but remember the meeting. At that meeting, I hope we'll have a full board. I've arranged with the town clerk's office so that we can allow for the swearing in of any of the 2 new members. That would, depend, I mean, if they both show up before, then it won't be necessary, but at least so they can get sworn in prior to the meeting on the 5th. If they show up for 7 o'clock, so.
Who knows, we could still be counting ballots.
Yeah, we could be. I doubt that, but we could be. If I get a phone call late that night.
All right.
So yeah, both of those are still on the kind of task list as sort of parking lot side projects. I think that answers on the skate park piece will be much more clearer, and whether or not we want to jump into what the impacts of the tax relief option are going to be.
I got you. And then the only other item, you had put in Dropbox, the police chief's
Yes.
discussion of dog licensing,
Yeah, I think that.
notice
so
modifications
I
or
put
something
this
like
in, I
that?
think, towards the end of last week. It's a memo to the Board of Selectmen from Chief DuBois with regards to the adjustments we've made with the animal control officer, in addition to him and I meeting with her directly to stress upon some key areas for improvement, as well as how we're going to address and further review any of the notices that go out from her department, if you will. So.
And, I mean, the only thing that strikes me is, I mean, it seems like he's focusing on it and making progress, but it's not terribly clear from the summary of the notice that goes out, so it might be helpful to actually see that notice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because, I mean, the text doesn't actually reference the bylaw that you get to
right.
adjudicate those things
Right.
first. And I think, some of the issues that people had with, facing Concord District Court would be taken care of, just knowing you
Agreed.
can stop by.
Oh, yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, the letter hasn't necessarily been, I mean, always, just because there's no,
Is
there hasn't been an urgency to write it, because it's another
Is that the sample in Dropbox?
year.
'Cause
It's a memo.
The
Oh, there's
the
also-
example is what they sent out,
Right.
and,
Are you
Oh,
looking
yeah,
for
yeah.
what's changed or a new memo, Bill?
yeah, I'm just wondering what would be changed. I don't quite follow the chief's memo as to what the differences are. It would just be much more clearer if that,
Yeah, I think the
that
big
memo, that
takeaway,
notice was revised.
the big takeaway is the census serves as the warning. And that's gonna change. There's a step in between the census, which has always been utilized as your official warning. There'll be a warning that will actually come from the town clerk's office prior to any actual enforcement by the dog officer.
Oh, okay, because actually I was a little confused by that, because it says
Yeah.
the first notice is included in the town census, but, I mean, that's actually the application.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but.
We're also gonna be looking at stressing, in those locations that if your dog is deceased, to contact the town clerk's office so we can make the correction. I mean, the only complaints that we've received with regards to this have been for those whose dogs have deceased. We've gotten 4 complaints total. and they've all been with deceased dogs. So, you know, we want to highlight, to capture that information and make sure that folks know, to notify us, you know, if their dog has passed away.
But I do think the most important thing is, you know, just the bylaw reference to the
Right.
non-outside option to,
Yep.
you know, get it dealt with.
Yeah, and we've discussed all of that.
It's the common sense solution.
And just regardless of what the letter says, just the sheer nature that it's coming from the police department, or police department letterhead, you know, ramps it up even, not even getting into the language of the letter, so.
And perhaps even more basic than that is when somebody does reach any member of town hall, but, you know, in this case, talking about the dog officer, that because I think we've heard at least 3 comments recently about customer service approach, and that's easily remedied. It just takes getting, you know, drumming in the new culture or a culture.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that was stressed heavily in the meeting that I sat in, and I know the chief has had follow-up meetings with the dog officer. It gets a little grayer. I mean, we have expectations because, you know, the outside person, you as a resident, you don't see the fact that, you know, she's representing the town of Maynard, and you don't see the fact that she actually works for herself and is a
Right.
private entity and contractor. So we gotta, you know, anytime you're acting in that capacity, you're representing the town, and you know, we're trying to make sure we push that. At the same time, it's not a case of you know, reprimanding or disciplining an employee for their actions, as it's a
that's a fair
contractor
point.
for a corporation.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the
But-
dog service, but
We can pull the service and put it elsewhere.
yeah, no, and that has been the discussion piece, but it is a little bit different than, you know, pulling aside a town employee and you know, reprimanding based on those complaints. But we have made that clear, and we hope for change. You know, we'll monitor it through the rest of the fiscal year, and if things don't change, then we'll move in a different direction.
It just, it was a somewhat related thing. I don't know, communication thing. When somebody calls town hall, do they know who they're talking to? Because I've called sometimes and, you know, I know who they are, but they're not saying who they are.
Okay.
You know.
You've never called me and not.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
I just don't, you know, I just
Yeah.
assume that, you know, you
Yeah,
say, hi,
I guess
I'm Joe, how can I help you?
they
But,
should.
you know.
It depends on, well, I don't know. I would say the majority, yes. I mean, specifically because people say I called and Barbara answered or Marie answered, but I don't know. I certainly, we reiterate that, but that's sort of standard kind of protocol is to state the office and who you're speaking with.
Yeah, it should almost be a standard text that
Yeah.
somebody says, "Thank you for calling Maynard Town Hall. You are speaking with so-and-so in the such and such
It is.
department."
It is, and it's probably not something that we need to reiterate. It's the kind of standard text that was, you know, 4 years ago. Hey, this is the way we should be, you know, carrying ourselves and answering phones. But you can reiterate it if you've seen it. If you've seen it,
Yeah,
call
not that
them.
I call town hall much, but
yeah,
it's kind of funny when it happens,
yeah.
especially if it's a
It doesn't
department head.
happen with me with the internal mechanism because they can see who's calling them. But yeah, no, that's good to hear, feedback to hear, because I don't.
The only calls I make really are to your office, and
Right.
Stephanie's wonderful, and
Right.
Becky does a fine job, but, you know, I recognize Becky's
Yeah,
anyway, so that's
Right.
not, I very rarely call anybody else, so I don't see what
right.
I just hear the feedback that I get from outside, so.
No, that's good to hear. I'll certainly reiterate that, and from what I've seen, it's, you know, of course, most of the time it's because they're right in front of me answering the phone, or, you know, it's the way we carry ourselves within those two offices, but I certainly will drive that home.
It just occurred to me because, you know, this letter was from the chief and, you know, they do it very professionally.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And,
Even with the dispatchers too now, if you
Yeah.
call over, they say this is dispatcher, you know, dispatcher Crenshaw. So it's very formal, this line's recorded, but I hope the,
Yeah, for some reason I call them more than town hall. Okay.
yeah, it's a problem.
All right, well, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, chairman's report. I guess I've kind of stepped into that already. So for next meeting, we got a couple liquor license hearings. I forget, one's a change of owner. They both change of owners?
One is for L. Whipple, change of, it's a sale.
Oh, okay,
Um,
gotcha.
What's the other one?
I don't know, we have two. We have one at 7:15 and one at 8.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look.
Either way, just,
I know one is actually a sale of license from L. Whipple, from Skylight LLC for an all alcohol license.
okay.
I can't recall what the other one is.
So it's just a reminder to the board members that even if
Be
you
on
break your
time.
leg, show up.
Yeah.
No
we also-
slouching.
the
One
other
more
one-
meeting, we need you.
The other one is 8 o'clock because Representative Hogan is coming at 7:30.
Yes, and, my question there is, she's gonna be talking on transportation topics, is that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, what have we done the last year? I don't think it's.
Oh, it's her thing, okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
It's not solely transportation. It's kind of I think just sort of a recap summary
Yeah,
of,
I tried to get that,
this is what we've
from
been
her,
working on.
but I jumped the gun. She should have had an opportunity to prepare, so.
Yeah, I think it's a follow-up really
Yeah.
to that, to really provide the board of an update of, the last year.
So we're gonna be ready to hit her with, that's nice, what are you gonna do for us this year?
Right, right. Yeah.
And, well, we won't have a liquor license vote yet, but.
Yeah, no, I met with her, on this past, last Thursday. And, yeah, she's definitely a great resource and is well aware of, Maynard's needs, certainly from our end, so.
I got you. One other thing I'm thinking is, we're getting fairly deep in the year now, and one of my hopes with our committee liaisons and stuff was to offer those committees and boards a chance to come here for, 15 minutes one evening to talk about their goals and objectives for the year, or then, their needs, and maybe they could use it to, highlight their, budget issues or something, I don't know, but I was just thinking that, before we run out of time in the year to do that, we should start thinking about, asking our committees to see if they want that opportunity. Because I'd be happy to give it to them if they wanted it. And then, I'm wondering if on the 21st, actually, I was wondering if we could bring, if they don't have a hearing or something that night, Bill Nesmer in, to chat about a couple issues. I'd like to hear his thoughts on the complete streets policy.
Okay.
And the other issue is, I was a little taken aback at the last planning board meeting, realizing how many of our commercial properties are being converted to residential. And just curious on trending and that sort of thing, and how you assess whether that's good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, no, that's a fair issue. I mean, that's certainly any planner hates to lose industrial, commercial, but,
Yeah, I mean, there must be.
Yep.
I mean, he must have experience in that, and, if he doesn't have experience in the complete streets policy, he has something
yeah, absolutely.
very similar,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Sure.
So it'd be interesting to see how that would work. So, if you could invite him for some time, but I don't know, was planning board meeting that night?
I don't think so.
No, they don't meet on the same schedule as
Usually- They don't
BOS.
usually unless something.
They defer to us? Nice.
Well, they use this room.
Oh, okay, I'll do it,
So they're opposite, second and fourth, we're first and third.
I got you. I got you, okay.
He should be available.
And then, other than that, like I said, I'd like to make sure we just touch on the special town meeting and make sure we're all set with our presentations and explanations and requests to town meeting for their consideration and votes. Oh, one last thing. I came up in an earlier discussion about the water and sewer rate settings, and just a thought to throw out to the board. I mean, I always was uncomfortable with setting water and sewer rates after people had already bought the water and sewer. And it always seemed weird to me that, you know, people use the stuff and then later we decide how much they have to pay. It seems to me that, you know, the point of conservation rates and things is you set the rates so they know what they will be paying. And I don't know if anybody had ever thought about that, but it just always bothered me.
I had never thought about that.
I don't know, I'll just throw it out there just because it bothered me.
I'm not sure I follow.
Well, I mean, we set the rates
Rate after.
based on what people have already purchased. And it's just kind of weird. It's like, okay, I used 1,000 gallons, that's great. And we're like, yeah, okay, it'll be $1,000 a gallon. We can do whatever we want. It's just weird. I mean, the point of conservation is, okay, rates cost this much, so you have to decide how much water you're gonna use. And billing, and deciding the pricing of that after the fact is kind of.
Well, you decide the price for next year based on this year.
Well, actually, that
It's a
makes sense to
projection.
me, but that's not what we do. We usually decide the price for this billing. But
Okay,
I
you're
agree with
talking
you,
about-
we should, you know, based on recent billings, we decide what we should charge for next year.
Okay, I
And
think
it's a little bit of, you know, in the old days, we didn't have stabilization funds or enterprise funds, and so it was all, you know, cash in, cash out, and we had to do it that way. But now we have a little bit of budgeting fluff, so if we underestimate the billing rate and come up 50 grand short, we have a way of covering it. But, something to think about. But I'll stop talking and throw it open to old new business for you guys.
Who first?
Go ahead.
Very quick. First off, Vic mentioned earlier the successful Maynard Fest, and I think that was indeed something that should be recognized and acknowledged for all those involved. Thank you for their efforts, and it was great. Oktoberfest, the same thing. Boy, and just look at all the events we had in the last month. The Boys and Girls Road Race, the Remembering Maynard Own event that went on just a few weeks ago, and then there was also a multi-year high school reunion that went on, I think it was last weekend. And the feedback I've gotten from all of those events have been very positive, and so it's good stuff. The community is, you know, coming together, and as we enter into the winter season, there'll be more of those things, but all good. It was mentioned to me by a police detail down at the high school football game. We used to have no exit signs for exiting from the Boys and Girls Club onto Route 117 that were apparently knocked down either last winter or the winter before. And it causes, I guess, some traffic congestion when cars are making that exit out of the Boys and Girls Club onto 117.
Yeah.
And so
I think there's
I
a
was...
parking lot arrow coming in, but the sign is down.
The signs are down, so it used to say no exit
Yeah, yeah,
on the 117 side.
right.
And so the detail that was there said, is there any way you can bring this up and try to get the sign replaced? Because it becomes, you know, a traffic nightmare
Okay.
when there are events going on there. And I think that's really, I don't know how strict the enforcement is during, you know, regular travel time, but during those times, it would be nice to have it up, apparently, from what the officers were saying.
Can you remind me, that parking area, that's town, right?
Town-owned, yes.
Okay, all right.
We mentioned the police chief's comment. Just as an aside, I don't know if anybody else saw the editorial in today's Globe.
I just got it.
Uh,
I haven't read it.
Maynard's Wonderful? No?
I just got it from Vic, actually.
Yeah, just more on the whole issue of, you know, one wondered why 3 weeks ago in the headline in the paper, the day that the United States of America has bombed Syria, they talk about a 3-year-old story from out of Maynard, you know, top below the banner on the Boston Globe.
I thought it was a party issue that was supposed to be more focused on the AG's office.
Well, I don't even know if that's the focus, because the focus of today's editorial was on small town. Somebody has the agenda that they want to expand the size of
Yeah.
retirement funds so that it becomes more regional in perspective. And it's probably a great argument and whatever. But I had heard, you know, at Maynard Fest, ironically enough, as good as it was, the comments that people were making to me were about that article. And it has nothing to do with the Board of Selectmen, really.
Right.
And we never got anything out defending the town. And I think that was a missed opportunity where, you know, ladies and gentlemen, this is not Town Hall. This is not the Board of Selectmen. This is a separate organization that is, you know, and it raises the political issue that's raised in today's editorial. But the, you know, I just don't think we're defending ourselves in a case where we should be. And just saying it's not, don't point the finger. It's not, here we go, Maynard again, because it's not Town Hall. So that's
This was a real editorial? It wasn't a letter to the editor?
No, it was a real editorial. It was today's editorial.
Wow, that is pretty sad that they're doing that. Huh.
It was today's editorial in the Globe. And it was focused on Maynard, but it taught the general sense of it was it's time to get away from small retirement funds and go to a more, and it highlighted it, you know, his name came up, and, you know, it highlighted the article from several days.
And I don't suppose they pointed out that it's an employee-run program, and it would be up to the employees to decide if they wanted to do that?
They did not. Well, there was some legislature,
Well, that it
there's
had-
some
when all the
legislative action
counties-
involved.
The county retirement systems lost money and Maynard didn't. And the investing that was done on a smaller scale. There's a lot of other things, but
So, but, and yeah, you know, they said that our rate for a couple of years ago was better than the larger group rates, but then it reversed itself. You know, typical trends where probably all balances out. But that's the political argument. More importantly, I just wish that we, you know, when things like that come up and there are things that are being said about the town government and the town itself, we should say, here are the facts, and here's the truth, and here's where things are, and not just let it go and allow people to have a negative feeling about Town Hall.
yeah, I had the discussion with our PR guy and he felt this one was best to just let it go because of
It's old news.
it's old news, and he felt that no matter what you write, it's still the town of Maynard. And, you know, he's done a lot of these reactive type of issues and having to respond. And in most cases, I think we would put out some sort of press release. In most cases, we always try to get out in front of the news and put out the release so that our stories, what they write. And I went back and forth with him on it, and now I'm not seeing this editorial piece. I don't know what that adds to it, but based on that original story, it's kind of like you could go either way with it, but it's old news, and the focus of it wasn't supposed to be about the town of Maynard. The focus of it was supposed to be really on the court system and not the attorney general, but the district attorney's office. And he felt it could have kind of gone the other way, but I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. Well, today's
I
is
just went with his
strictly about it's time to
yeah,
expand the size of retirement.
right. Yeah, Vic just gave me. I got to read it.
No.
I can send you a copy. I probably can search for it.
That's all I got.
Jason?
Just got a couple of things real quick. First one, Kevin, somebody brought this up, well, screamed about it, and I'll just say brought it up. And I do kind of agree with it, that we got two bills, two separate mailings on the same day. We got our taxes
And water.
and water,
Well, if you had an irrigation meter, you would have had three.
and you would have gotten a third one. Are we, I thought we were consolidating.
We did, and then we switched.
Yeah, so we had consolidated bills, as you remember. That company relocated to, I don't know, maybe
New Jersey, I think.
Jersey, and we've looked at it was a significant cost, and just the way it played out. They were going back to the two bill mailing as cost savings. I
So
have
was
to go
that-
back and look at my notes, but this was like a year ago we looked at it, and we used to be able to just bring it all right to Hudson, where they were located, and they relocated to New Jersey, and we've had discussions and proposals with some of the other communities, and it's easy to do when it's like a single sort of insert file, like a mailer they can do, but it complicated the process. In reality, it was like, I mean, they were just, this was an outfit that was literally had staff in a room that was stuffing the envelope, and the companies we went to, like, yeah, it just doesn't work that way, you know, we're not gonna do that volume at that type of operation, so, yeah, that's why it's been like that. This wasn't the first time.
It's like the third.
Third,
Yeah.
probably. Third quarter, maybe it's happened. We can continue to explore that.
I think this is the first time with our new lender, so it actually got sent to us for whatever reason.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
only reason I noticed this story.
Yeah, so that must be.
So it was your wife that was yelling.
Let's not go there.
Not saying that. Okay. I guess just to add on to the skateboard park, I mean, if we could just know if there's a restriction on it, I mean,
Right.
that's the first step. Because we have some options, we can, especially if Representative Hogan is in to meet with us, we can get the wheels turning on that, if that's something we want to do.
Yeah, that's
If
the
it's
big
just,
question that needs to be answered.
yeah, I mean, I think the sooner we can get that, the better. Bill, to your comment about Bill Nemser and the commercial to residential transitions in town,
Mhm.
I've actually had that conversation with Bill. He actually has a pretty good point of view on that.
Oh, good.
So I think he
Yeah.
can, to have him come in and kind of talk about that would be great, because that's been a concern of mine for a while. That
Yeah.
we're
Concern of
turning,
mine. I had the same conversation with Eric,
Yeah.
because there was another area we were looking at, and as have with Bill, and it seems to make sense when you look at it
Right.
from,
Yeah, it's kind of anti-economic development
yeah.
opportunities, and
yeah,
you
and
know,
he,
it's one of the factors that means is a small piece anyways, in why residential tax bills are higher than they might otherwise be.
It drives the whole shift thing even more, of
Yeah.
going to a
Less
single,
to shift.
losing more and more.
Okay, that'd be
but
great.
yeah, he
Good.
had some pretty good ideas. I think he has some experience with it from his previous
Yeah.
position, and I think it'd be interesting to hear that. I know I'd also pushed him on a lot of the single-family homes that are being removed for two and multifamily homes, and you know how that works, and are we coming out ahead or behind? And you know, I've kind of really looked to him to open my eyes on that. I know what I think. I need you to, prove me right or prove me wrong, and
Yeah.
let's see where we're going on that. Because again, these all all the long-term planning goals of the town are sort of tied up in those
That's
economically.
interesting. I
And
don't actually see that much. My neighborhood, everybody's going up, not doubling, but yeah.
Yeah.
The only other thing was, but maybe you can weigh on this a little bit, because I'm not real familiar with it, but I know this has come up from a few folks in town, and I guess we just got some correspondence. The Safe Routes to School program, and whether that's something we can take advantage of.
No, we did that for a while.
Yeah, we did. We looked at that.
I know I've had a conversation with Wayne Amico and understand that it's somewhat of a challenge.
Yeah.
But my take on that is if we're a walkable community, maybe we get a little bit of a leg up.
Yeah, and there was the last one I had asked one if Wayne would participate in. I put it in the school's hands. Actually, Jeff Mila at Fowler School, they were the ones that was sent initial paperwork from DOT, of which we kind of I offered whatever we needed to do to work with them, and Jeff's answer was the last time it came out, we looked at this and did it, nothing happened. Well, things don't just happen with DOT. You need to follow up and push
Yeah,
it. So
I know that there was a time, the school had like a Let's Walk to School Day,
Yeah.
and they tried to publicize it. And my understanding, and my numbers are going to be wrong, but I think it was 6 students actually participated. where they went to the, because they were gonna have, you're gonna walk as a group, because, you know, so instead of being dropped off at the school, you went to a certain location.
Walking school bus.
A walking school bus is basically what it was, and it was not successful. Maynard, I think, just by the very nature of the town itself and the habits that people have, I mean, I lived less than a mile from the school back in the 70s. My kids would be walking to school without question. Now it just doesn't happen, and that's
Right.
the way it is.
Now, I would also point out the issues raised in the little letter that we got at the beginning of the meeting, about, you know, sidewalk issues. And it's a little hard to
I-
walk if you don't have safe sidewalks.
Yes, and especially during the wintertime.
That's right. So
becomes-
it's both a
Yeah.
infrastructure issue and an operational issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have seen an increase in, a little bit in bike riding. We've added some bike racks, I don't know if you've noticed that, at the complex, and there's some additional opportunities to bike, but not a whole lot of that. You see some of it at the Green Meadow level, where there's actually a parent that's biking with the student, and then, you know, a nice day, spring and stuff, and, you know, the mother will bike with the child, and then, you know, they'll leave the kid's bike, and she'll bike back and meet them back. So we've seen some of that going on, but, yeah, I don't know, like I said, we did miss the opportunity with the DOT, application that we were behind, but it needed to come from them to initiate, and,
A lot of these things, too, would need not only coordination from the Board of Selectmen, but the school committee would need to cooperate and get
Well-
on board. And
Yeah, again, and I'm not real familiar with this, it was brought up to me, you know, but again, I'm thinking of it more in terms of less of I know it's multifaceted into programs to encourage people to walk, you know, I'm looking at it more from an infrastructure point of view. If it gives us an opportunity to improve some sidewalks that we don't have the budget for,
Well, and I think
think
that-
that's
I think
more
that's a
what-
good overlap
that's
with
what
the
that
Complete
DOT
Streets effort,
Yeah.
and there is money there,
Yeah.
certainly, so maybe if we do talk to Bill next meeting, you know, we might end up focusing on Complete Streets idea, starting
Which I hope-
near schools.
depending on what happens with town meeting vote regarding the Acton Street project, I hope that Complete Streets is considered when it's,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's another weird thing. I mean, there's no sidewalks up there.
yeah.
that's it for me.
All right, I forgot one thing. We had notification from Becky about the Boys and Girls Club's 13th Annual Service to Youth Awards. And I forgot to speak to Becky about it, but she was wondering if we wanted to do a proclamation, I guess, for their Youth of the Year recipient.
yeah,
We
Local?
Yeah, we have.
have done that. We
last
traditionally-
year, you were at, Bill, you and I know attended last year's, I think it was Johnny something. I can't recall his name, but we did do, you know, we have historically done a proclamation every year.
But the recipient's from Maine, or not like from.
No,
No,
correct.
right, yeah.
The recipients from Maynard this year, and most, every year that I can recall.
Last year, he was definitely from Maynard, I'm not sure. I
Yeah,
can't
every
recall.
year I believe the kids from Maynard.
But the location has changed, it's in Concord, if any of the
Shoddock.
board members intend to.
Shoddock, nice
yeah,
place.
Yeah, both Andrew and I will be at,
So that's November
Amherst.
13th, so, I mean, we get that proclamation on the 5th, and we could have 5 signatures on it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
No, it's a good thing, it's always a good event, and, yeah.
The one thing about our
Can't make this
proclamations, completely off topic, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but typically when we have those proclamations, we declare, like today is October 6th or 7th, or whatever, we declare October 5th as Kevin Sweet Day, and it was the day before, you know? We do that all the time.
Right.
Or we declare October 6th, so the person doesn't get to celebrate their day because it's 9 o'clock at night, you know? So we should think about that when we're declaring somebody's day, that we actually give them advance notice that their day is coming up.
Fair enough, I
That's a
have
fair
seen
comment.
that, yeah. Usually it's like, well, you got 3 hours left.
Yeah, exactly.
Still get the plaque.
Still
That's
get
true.
you get the plaque,
Fair enough.
Get their memories.
but you'd like to be able to go, you know, to your
No, that's a fair
school and,
comment,
you know,
sure.
whatever, today's my day. put it up on the, thing in front of the town hall and
All right, signs. Anybody have a motion?
motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, motion adjourned. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time being 9:00.